Welcome in, everyone. We'll just let the numbers kind of settle here, and then we'll get started here in just a few minutes. So again, welcome, and we have a few meeting logistics for you on the screen. Okay, again, welcome in, everyone. We'll just let the numbers here stop a little bit. We'll start at 2:05. We'll let you get settled here. There's a few meeting logistics here on the screen as you're waiting as well. Okay, good afternoon and welcome. Again, we will get started here in just a minute. Please look at the meeting logistics here on the slide. Throughout the presentation, we do want to note that we have disabled chat for attendees. However, we welcome and want you to put your questions in the Q&A box so that we can either answer those throughout or save a few at the end to be answered verbally. You can find slides and recording from this conference posted to our NIFA website there as well. And so we'll leave that up here for just a few more seconds and then we'll get started. Okay, I think we'll go ahead. Jamilis, I'll ask you to go with the next slide, please. Okay, again, welcome. You are attending our USDA NIFA AFRI fiscal year 2024 Foundational and Applied Science, Food Safety, Nutrition, and Health Program Areas Technical Assistance webinar. And so we look forward to visiting with you and helping you to get acquainted to our staff that oversee these programs here in the Institute of Food Safety and Nutrition. Next slide, please. Here is our non-discrimination statement. I'll pause for just a moment here to show you that. Okay, we'll move on to the next slide. So I am Suzanne Sluka. I am the Deputy Director here for the Institute of Food Safety and Nutrition. And as you can see on the slide, you're going to meet many of these individuals here as they introduce their programs and provide this technical assistance to you today. This would not be possible without each and every staff member. So appreciate and thank their leadership. And we are here for you. So please do reach out anytime that you have questions. Next slide. Again, really quickly, this webinar will cover the following AFRI program areas. So primarily our food safety, nutrition, and health. We'll cover a few cross-cutting areas that our colleagues across NIFA also manage. And then lastly, we'll be excited to announce one of our newest additions that just was published a few weeks ago, and that is our USDA Nutrition Hubs. So now I have the pleasure of turning it over to Dr. Sheila Fleischacker, our National Science Liaison here in the Institute of Food Safety and Nutrition.
Thank you, Dr. Saluska. As illustrated here on the next slide, we're going to just provide a brief overview of NIFA. I think most of you guys have a good understanding of our agency as an extramural funding agency, and that we work within the research, education, and economics mission area. We invest in and support initiatives that ensure long-term viability of agriculture, and we provide funding and strategic leadership for programs that ensure groundbreaking discoveries and research-related and agriculture-related sciences and technologies that reach people who can put them into practice. Next slide. As illustrated here and on our NIFA topics pages, or what we like to call our NIFA table of contents, NIFA programs cover a broad range of topics. We'll just be focusing in on a slice of them today in the food and nutrition safety world. These include advanced technologies from animals to plants to soils to natural resources and the environment, and from education, particularly in minority serving institutions such as the 1890s land-grant universities, Hispanic serving colleges and universities, and our tribal colleges and universities, to human sciences, to food science, and our growing focus on food and nutrition security. Next slide. Indeed, tackling food and nutrition insecurities is a key priority of our Secretary of Agriculture, Tom Vilsack, along with addressing climate change, creating more and better market opportunities, and advancing racial justice, equity, opportunity, and rural prosperity. Our award-winning NIFA food and nutrition security team includes more than 80 staff across our NIFA agency. Our food and nutrition security topic page, which you can link to in that QR code listed here, really highlights more than 20 relevant programs that can help tackle food and nutrition insecurity using research, education, economics, and innovation. Today, you're going to hear specifically about our relevant AFRI programs. And we do want to highlight our NIFA food and nutrition security webinar series, which again, you can also find linking through this QR code, which includes more than 20 editions and provides deep dives on a lot of relevant programs and priorities, including food loss and food waste, climate and food systems, local and regional food systems, tribal food sovereignty, and youth-driven approaches. We also hope in the coming years to feature your work. So keep us posted as you get to applying for our grants and hopefully securing them. Now I have the pleasure to pass off to my colleague, Dr. Jody Williams, to start the deep dive on AFRI programs.
So thanks, Sheila. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Jody Williams. I'm a National Program Leader in Food Safety at USDA NIFA in the Institute of Food Safety and Nutrition in the Division of Food Safety. So I'm delighted to share some information on our AFRI programs with you this afternoon. And I'm going to go ahead and get started by first sharing the QR code for the AFRI Food Safety, Nutrition, and Health programs that is displayed here on the slide. Next slide, please. All right, so the AFRI program has several project types and grant types, but all the programs do not include all types. So the project types and grant types are clearly identified in each program in the request for application. So it's really crucial that you read those closely. I'm also going to highlight that information in our presentations today as we go through the different priority areas. Me and my colleagues will both highlight those different areas. And so the project types include research only, education only, extension only, or integrated, which may either include 2 of the 3 research, education, or extension, or depending on the program, they may include all 3. So again, it's clearly stated in the RFA which project type is being solicited for each program. In addition to project types, we have grant types. So we have standard grants, coordinated agricultural projects, conference grants, and food and agriculture science enhancement grants. Standard grants are our traditional research, education, or extension. They're smaller grants. CAP, or our coordinated agricultural projects, are larger, they're multidisciplinary, tend to be multi-state, multi-institutional grants. And then also we have our conference grants. Those are pretty self-explanatory, but they're used to host conferences, workshops. The phase or food and agricultural science enhancement grants are a little more complex. The purpose of the AFRI food phase, I'll just say phase from now on, grants is to strengthen science capabilities in research, education, and or extension programs. Phase grants are really designed to help institutions or states that have been less successful receiving AFRI grants, and also to attract new scientists, pre- and postdoctoral fellows, and educators into careers in high priority areas of national need in ag, food, and environmental sciences. Our phase grant types are our pre and postdoc fellows, fellowship grants, and also our new investigator grants. So those are both standard and seed grants. And then under our strengthening grants, which also falls under phase, we have our seed grants, we have our sabbatical grants, equipment grants, we have our standard strengthening grants, and then we have our strengthening coordinated agriculture projects grants, and also strengthening conference grants as well. Next slide, please. So now I'm going to segue into talking about the specific programs within the food safety, nutrition, and health portfolio. So I'm the national program leader for 81332. That's the food safety and defense program. And I provide leadership and work closely with Colin Edwards, who also works with this program as a program specialist. Next slide, please. So for the food safety and defense program, NIFA requests basic and applied research proposals that will reduce the risk of intentional or unintentional contamination of foods. Maximum award amounts vary by the grant type. Standard grants will not exceed $650,000 total per project for project periods of 3 to 5 years. This program also accepts partnership proposals for a maximum award amount of $800,000 for specific partnerships. The project types are research projects only, and our grant types are standard, conference, and phase, and my contact information is available there. The application deadline for this program is August 22nd, 2024, so it's right around the corner. You have about a month to get your stuff together. Next slide, please. The priorities for the food safety and defense program are to develop microbiological methods for enumerating enteric pathogens, specifically looking at Salmonella, Campylobacter, and SX. It also looks at, we're looking for soliciting proposals to develop microbiological procedures that remove the need for enrichment in the detection of pathogens. Looking for projects that develop methods for identifying, detecting, and or enumerating pathogens of relatively high public health risk, including persistence or virulence. I'm also looking for proposals that develop and validate advanced and innovative technologies or process for food processing, manufacturing, packaging, cleaning, and sanitation to reduce the presence of pathogens in food and processing facilities. Projects develop pre or post-harvest methods to detect, reduce, and or mitigate microbial pathogens, allergens, physical hazards, or toxic chemicals in foods. And this includes arsenic, lead, cadmium, mercury, PFAS, and other emerging chemicals of concern, such as micro and nanoplastics in foods. We're also looking for projects to develop methods to identify, prevent, or reduce intentional contamination or adulteration of foods. And then also projects that look to develop and validate novel strategies for the effective control of persistent reservoirs of foodborne pathogens. So now I'm going to turn this over to invite my colleague, Dr. Junia Jean-Gals-Boburn, to discuss her program. Junia, take us away.
Thank you, Jody. Yes, so I am Junia Jean-Gils-Boburn, and I am the National Program Leader for 81366, Mitigating Antimicrobial Resistance Across the Food Chain. And Colin Edward also serves as the Program Specialist for this program. Next slide, please. So for the mitigating antimicrobial resistance across the food chain, the program priority is to really empower interdisciplinary team to develop, refine, and disseminate science-based knowledge about food and agricultural management and production practices that can mitigate and reduce risk of antimicrobial resistance across the food chain. And with this program, one of the things that I really like to emphasize is the plan is to really mitigating, is to emphasize reducing the likelihood of exposure to antimicrobial resistance in our food chain. The maximum amount varies, but it should not exceed $1 million per project within up to 60 months. And we also have seed grants that are available at $300,000, as well as comfort grants that are offered. And this particular program is, as Jody mentioned earlier, we have different type of programs, but this one is integrated project, and it does include the research, education, and the extension component, which also emphasize reaching out to stakeholders to make sure that information is being distributed to, again, reach out the reducing and mitigating the risk of antimicrobial resistance. The grant type for this program covers both standard, conference, and phase, which Jody already went over. I'm not going to focus too much onto those different type of grants, but this particular program cover all those different areas for funding. Next slide, please. The priorities for the 2024 RFA for A1366 covered, we're looking for a proposal that describe, quantify, assess, and or mitigate the risk of human health from the presence of AMR pathogen or genes. We're also looking for proposals that are there to investigate and assess important factors, such as fitness and virulence associated with foodborne AMR pathogens. Projects that identify risk associated with antimicrobial use in pathways in livestock and crop system, AMR development, and public health. Also, a project that assess AMR in food and agriculture. And lastly, projects that determine and improve best management practices and approaches in antibiotics stewardship and trusted resources for communicating information and guidance. And as I mentioned earlier, because this program covers research, education, and extension, that last component is very essential to communicate with our stakeholders to make sure we are applying these projects towards mitigating and reducing AMR presence in the food chain. And at this time, I'm going to forward it to my colleague, Dr. Chris Grimm.
Hello, everyone. I am the National Program Leader for A1343, or Food and Human Health, and Jamilis Ocasio is our Program Specialist. It's good to be with you all today. Next slide. The program area for Food and Human Health, program code there, A1343, is looking at projects that are going to be investigating the interrelationships of foods or the components of foods and their impact on the gut microbiota to improve human health. And so different chronic diseases and things of that nature that tie into those food or food components. The budget request does vary by the grant type. It is not to exceed $650,000 for a period of 3 to 5 years. However, if you are partnering with, if you have specific partnerships, that could go up to $800,000. This is a research-only program area, and so that's we stick with research. However, the grant types vary, and so we have standard, conference, phase grants, or strengthening, standard, new investigators, strengthening, conference, seed, equipment, and sabbatical grants only. And there's my contact information. The application for this program area is due very quickly. It's on August 8th. And so if you have questions regarding this program area, feel free to email me, and I will help you navigate through this RFA. Next slide. The priorities for 2024 for A1343 are varied here. First, as I had mentioned, we are investigating the interrelationships of foods or components of foods on the gut microbiota, on that gut microbiome, and on human health, human disease, and related matters. Research on functional outcomes of the interrelationships between toxic elements, such as arsenic, cadmium, lead, and mercury, on the human microbiome that's also accepted and encouraged. We're also looking for projects that investigate the relationship of food contaminants on the human gut microbiome, as well as determining the structure and functional outcomes of certain metabolites of the gut microbiome in foods or food components and or contaminants. Next slide. Oh, back up one slide. There we go. In addition, applications focusing on improved treatments and interventions that improve women's health are strongly encouraged. And as I had mentioned before, but just a little bit more detail, projects with specific types of partnerships, like with small and mid-sized or minority serving degree granting institutions, not on the list of successful institutions, EPSCoR institutions or international partners can receive an extra $150,000. And so please read the RFA for specific eligibility restrictions and requirements, just to make sure that you're in alignment with that. Again, two things that we want to remember are that applications using a whole food approach are preferred. And so the enrichment or fortification, micro and nano encapsulation research projects must use and look at whole foods. And this program area does not support research on the development of dietary supplements or the establishment, expansion, or maintenance of dietary bases. And so that's 1343. I'm now going to turn it over to the National Program Leader for A1344, Mallory Keenings.
Thank you very much, Chris. And greetings, everyone. I'm Mallory, and together with Mr. Ryan Cornegay, we provide leadership to the Diet, Nutrition, and Prevention of Chronic Diseases Program Area Priority. We like to refer to this by its program code, A1344 for short. And on the next slide, you will see some important details about this program area priority. This program area priority is focusing on funding work that helps us prevent and control chronic diseases, that takes a life cycle and an equitable approach to encouraging the most culturally relevant and healthy dietary choices that are data-driven, flexible, and consumer-focused. You'll see that these are in standard grant form, integrated projects, going back to the three functions of agriculture, research, education, and extension, and NIFA's focus on integrated work. The definition in this program area priority for integrated projects is at least two of those three functions, So any standard grant proposal that comes in to diet, nutrition, and prevention of chronic diseases needs to include at least two functions, of research, education, and extension, in combination. Now, due to that integrated nature, the standard grant award size, and funds available in a maximum budget are slightly greater, You'll see here that total is for $1 million, and the length of the projects tends to be for 3 to 5 years, Slightly longer project periods to accomplish that integrated work. Similar to my colleagues who already spoke, this program area priority does participate in the AFRI partnership opportunity, which functions exactly the same way here, It's that opportunity for eligible partnerships to request an additional $150,000, which increases the maximum award size possible. So in keeping with that information, there's also the opportunity for seed grant and conference grant applications in this program area priority. And seed grant and conference grant applications may be single function projects. That is perfectly allowable. I do want to share that we truly do encourage applicants to consider submitting integrated projects, for seed grants and conference grants, because we feel that best positions, you all as investigators to be competitive, for future funding, setting yourself up, for progression to standard grants. The success rate in this program area priority this past funding cycle was 12%, That's a funding rate of roughly 1 in every 8 proposals. Again, because this is an integrated program area priority, the projects really need to reflect the understanding and the interaction of all of those functions. And both at least one sub-priority and one approach need to be addressed in the application. What you're seeing on this slide here, are the 3 available program area sub-priorities, so addressing at least one of these. And then on the subsequent slide, we are sharing the 4 approaches, At least one of these approaches needs to be included in a standard grant application. And with that, I'm going to go ahead and turn this back over to Chris to tell you about another program area priority.
All right. Thank you so much. I'm really excited to share with you, which Suzanne mentioned earlier, about this new area of focus, A1722, or our USDA Nutrition Hubs. And so this is new for 2024, and we're excited about what it is going to bring. Next slide. The USDA Nutrition Hubs, the application deadline for this is October 3rd, and so we have a little bit of time, but it will creep up on us fast. If you are looking for that program area, you can find it on beginning on page 113 of the new modified RFA that came out in June. This program area is really looking at these sort of large-scale projects that are providing effective, translatable, and scalable approaches to advance nutrition security, food security, to reduce diet-related chronic diseases, especially in at-risk or underserved populations and communities, through an integrated approach, extension, education, and research activities. The maximum award amount is $1.5 million. The project type, as I'd already mentioned, is integrated, and this is extension, education, and research all together. And so you will want to include all project types in this for this funding opportunity. The grant types are Coordinated Agricultural Project Standard and Phase, or Strengthening Coordinated Agriculture Project grants only. And of course, I'm the contact individual for that. Next slide. And so just a few points about the priorities for A1722. I do encourage you to read the RFA. There is a lot of great information in there regarding this, but here are a few highlights. The subgroups, the priority population subgroups of interest for this program include tribal, Hispanic, and insular areas. We are looking for applications that demonstrate partnerships in the region and collaborations that correspond to extensions, geographic regions, and institutional types. We're hoping to stimulate and catalyze cross-cutting and interdisciplinary work among scientists, stakeholders. Extension education and research projects are also aiming to use highly interdisciplinary approaches and human-centered, stakeholder-informed program designs. Projects should be interdisciplinary, as I've already mentioned, bringing together stakeholders from many parts of the food system to foster understanding of the intersections between food security, nutrition security, and equity. And we also welcome projects that consider intersections with climate change, food systems, direct nutrition education, or policy systems and environmental supports. And while nutrition hubs must support and coordinate activities across all three emphasis areas or project types, the primary emphasis should be on extension. And so we look forward to seeing your applications. Again, if you have questions about that, feel free to reach out to me, and I will do my best to help you as you are applying for this. And I will go ahead and switch it over to turn it over to our next speaker.
All right. Thanks, Chris. Again, welcome to the IFS and AFRI Technique Assistant webinar. My name is Hongde Chen. I'm National Program Leader for a couple of programs. The first one is A1364, Novel Foods and Innovative Manufacturing Technology. Join me, Miss Sarah Medley is the program specialist. Next slide, please. Yep, and this particular program, we request the proposal for research that develop a risk-based approach to ensure the quality, safety, and nutrition of novel foods and a novel food ingredient. And the priority area also seeks to advance the food manufacturing competitiveness to ensure a more sustainable, resilient, healthy food supply. This food supply including both novel foods as well as conventional foods that we are enjoying. And the budget ceiling for a standard grant is the same as the research loan project mentioned earlier, that is $650K. And for the partnership with the FACE Eligible Institute or international partnership, and there's additional 150K available for that. In terms of the grants type, and they are same as mentioned previously. And the proposal due date is September 26th. So it's coming up very quickly. Next slide, please. Yeah, just mention about a few priorities and improving knowledge and understanding of chemical, physical, biological, and nutritional properties of a novel food and a novel food ingredient, including effects of climate change as appropriate. Secondly, improving the safety, quality, shelf life, convenience, and nutritional profile, all sensory attributes of novel foods and novel food ingredients. And then thirdly, develop innovative manufacturing technologies that increase productivity, improving food quality, and or nutritional value of foods, thus including conventional foods and food ingredients that are more energy, water, and resource efficient. Finally, advance science and develop technology to improving shelf life and minimize food loss and waste throughout the entire food supply chain, including consumer empowering tools to support a circular bioeconomy. So our foods that consider for this priority are those foods and food ingredients that can be newly developed, produced, or preserved using new technology or processes, including cell-cultured meat, seafood, and animal proteins, plant protein-based products, edible insect proteins, single-cell proteins, and other novel sources and a variety of foods. Advanced manufacturing encompasses engineering, processing, and preservation technology, including precision fermentation, packaging, cleaning, and sanitation, robotics, high-speed automation, artificial intelligence, machine learning, data science, biosensor, and quality and safety inspection of food and food products. So it's a very broad field. Next slide, please. Yep. This one is another program. It's nanotechnology for agriculture and food system. I'm a lead NPL for that program, and Tiffany Wilson is a program specialist for this program. Next slide, please. The nanotechnology, nanoscale science engineering technology embrace opportunities in a wide range of critical challenges facing agriculture and food science, food system. And remember, the keywords is pushing cutting-edge nanoscale science, engineering, and technology on the critical challenges relevant to the food and agriculture system. And you need to be excelled on both fronts. Yeah. The program encourages applications with innovative ideas and connecting the hypothesis-based fundamental science to develop nanotechnology-enabled solutions for sustainable food and nutritional security, climate-smart agriculture, circular bioeconomy through the following broad areas: improving productivity and product quality, reduction of food waste and loss, improving nutritional value and efficiency of food and feed products, more effective therapies that are significant improving animal health and wellness, enhance food safety and biosecurity, increase protection of natural resources, the environmental and agriculture ecosystem, reduction of greenhouse gas emission, and improving sustainability, health, safety, and joy of living. For those who are new to this field, and if you're not familiar with the nanotechnology, I encourage you to look up the definition and the scope described in the RFA for details. The program area priority welcome novel platform of nanotechnology in the area of a higher order assembly system that including exploitation of bio-nano interfaces, hybrid bio-inorganic system biology, synthetic biology, and then additive manufacturing technologies. The application, especially those with a potential near-term commercial impact, and are welcome to including social economic analysis of anticipated benefits, to the agriculture and food and society, and then to identify the factors that may contribute to or hinder the adoption of the technology. Next slide, please. Yeah, a few words that explain the priorities. Novel use in the high value added products of nano biomaterials from the agriculture and the forest oranges for food and non-food applications. And the nanotechnology enabled the smarter sensors for accurate, reliable, cost-effective, early and rapid detection of pathogens, allergens, insects, disease, chemical toxins, and contaminants in food and plant and animal production system, water, soil, and the agriculture production environment. And nanotechnology enabled portable, field deployable, and affordable sensors and devices for real-time detection and then screening to identify agriculturally important targets, requiring no additional laboratory analysis are welcome. Cost-effective distributed sensing network in which the sensors are essential, enabled by the nanotechnology for intelligent and precise application of the agrochemicals, agricultural products, inputs, with the Internet of Agricultural Things and the data science are welcome. Next one, please. This is the final slide. And for the study on the environmental health safety assessment of engineered nanomaterial used in the food and agriculture system, including detection and quantification of engineered nanoparticles, characterization of hazards, exposure level, transport, and then the fate of engineered nanoparticle and nanomaterial in food and crop and soil, or to the agriculture and allied industry worker, and these are included. This is may also including animal feed formulation and then the processes. Nanotechnology enabled the monitoring of a physiological biomarkers that for the optimal crop and animal productivity and health are included. And finally, on the fundamental side, the discovery and the characterization of a nanoscale phenomenon process structure related and important to the agriculture and food system are encouraged. So with that, and I turn it over to next speaker, Steve.
Yeah, thank you all the MPLs for showcasing our AFRI programs. I am Steve Zhang. I'm the Division Director of Food Safety Division. And at the same time, I'm also Acting Division Director for the Nutrition. So now I'm going to, I'd like just to share with you a couple of cross-cutting programs which IFSN help funding in relation to food safety and nutrition. A1541, Data Science for Food and Agriculture, is co-led by Drs. Shea, Dr. Chen, Dr. Thompson. You may want to look at this program to see if your proposal fits, in addition to the previous AFRI funding programs in the food safety, nutrition, and health. Next slide, please. This program area of priority focuses on intersections between data science, artificial intelligence, and agricultural areas in order to enable systems and the communications to effectively utilize data, improve resource management, and integrate new technologies and approaches to further U.S. food and agriculture enterprises. The program welcomes university-based research as well as public and private partnership. Applications for research and integrated projects must address one of the AFRI priority areas. We especially welcome proposals in the areas of climate smart agriculture, forestry, food and nutrition security, environment sustainability, economic revitalization, and justice. Projects are focused on intersections between these are also welcome. So I would like to add a few additional piece of information. When you are preparing proposal for additional resources on this program is included in the website. You can find there. As you can see, the deadline of this program is November 14. So I would certainly do some homework before you start the preparation. NIFA is partnered with Ireland and Northern Ireland under the US-Ireland Research and Development Partnership to solicit collaborative research application. Think about beyond the US. Within the project description, I would encourage all the applications to include sustainability plan, explaining how project products and services will be accessible during and after the funding period. Next slide, please. Here's another crosscut program, A1701, Critical Agricultural Research and Extension, CARE. This program is co-led by Dr. Nendula and Dr. Dabrowski. In that research and extension together, we ask the proposals to address and improve our nation's agricultural and food system. Despite prior investment in basic and applied researches, critical problems continue to impede the efficient production of agriculturally important plants and animals for producing safe and nutritious food and to meet the environmental challenges for agriculture, including climate change. So it's a broad scope. Also, I would like to add a few pieces of information for your preparation. Focus on a clear, time-sensitive, stakeholder identify the need or problem for agriculture. Describe a meaningful approach for blending research and extension expertise and other outreach and the implementation approaches throughout the whole project. Application from and collaborations with minority serving institutions is especially encouraged. Lastly, in the full application, a letter of support must be included from the stakeholders, which details their role and their degree of interest and collaboration in implementing the project outcomes. Now I'm turning it to Dr. Jody Williams again on application package next.
I will be covering that, Steve.
Oh, okay, Joe, Junior.
So for the application package guidance, we went through all of the programs that we covered through AFRI and the Food Safety Nutrition Division. But now we're going to focus a little bit with, for the application, some hints and information we can provide you for you to have a successful application. Next slide, please. For the application process, they are RFA specific, and I need to emphasize that because each RFA, each program has specific requirement for you to follow when you're submitting your application. And each RFA have a unique funding opportunity number, FON or fund. And each of these numbers, for example, for the fundational RFA, it's USDA NIFA AFRI 009755. And the applicant must, and I will emphasize that, must make sure that in your application process, when you submitting your application that you are selecting the right one for your application when you go to grant.gov. If you do not have the right fund number, it's going to take longer for that application to reach the destination, and it may delay your process and the ability for your application to be reviewed correctly. So it is important that you must select the correct fund, and your application package must be associated with the program that you are trying to submit it for to make sure it's successfully submitted to grant.gov. And if you have any questions with these processes, please don't hesitate to call any of the national program leaders associated with the particular program of interest. Next slide, please. There are some key documents that I want to emphasize that you want to include in your application process, such as your project summary and abstract, which is going to help with the for the panelists to get a good grasp of what you're trying to ask for. I won't go into details, but there's more information in the RFA for you to follow, for you to write your each document. There's the project narrative, bibliography and reference list, the data management plan, and some of the documents that are, again, specific to per RFA. Make sure each RFA you or application you're submitting, make sure you review that RFA so you have the proper guidance for that particular program. Next slide, please. There are some additional key documents, such as the project narrative, and that one is also very important. When you review the RFA, if in this case the project the limit is 18 pages long, so you don't want to do 19 or 20 pages. That could automatically disqualify your application. So follow the instructions, follow the limits, the guidelines provided in the RFA. That will help the success of your application. We require a 12-point font, including for in that 18 page, you must include your text, your figures, tables, all should be included within that 18-page limit. And within that 18-page limits also, you should include your introduction, your rationale and significant and approach. That section is very important because it needs to be very clear to the reviewers what exactly you're trying to achieve. And don't forget during your application process to include impact statement as to how that's going to be significant to the USDA mission and priorities. Those are very important areas for you to cover as well. And again, I can emphasize this enough, applications exceeding the page limit will be returned without review. So please review the RFA instructions, the specific requirements when you go into that process to make sure you're meeting the requirements as listed. And we do have a link on the AFRI RFA resource page. So if you need more information, you are welcome to check the page for information there, as well as reaching out to the national program leaders for more information. Next. The data management plan, investigators must provide details up to 2 pages of the business and management plan that should include expected data type, data format, data storage and preservation, data sharing, protection and public access, and then the role and responsibility. So again, all these information are listed in the on our website. And if you go to the NIFA resources, you should be able to find the data management plan information and use that to generate the information that is needed per application. Next slide, please. In the application submission, NIFA only accept portable document formats. Again, there are guidances on our website and also on grant.gov how to make sure that is submitted correctly. So we only accept electronic submission in the portable format. So do not try to use a third-party PDF builder. Even though grant.gov does accept different format, but for NIFA, it has to be portable document format, the version of PDF that is acceptable for our agency. So again, go back to the RFA, follow the instructions, make sure you're meeting the requirements, the number of pages in the important section that needs to be submitted. Make sure all those are done according to the RFA that you are applying to, including the FON number to make sure it's associated with the right program to facilitate a successful application process. And I will turn it over to Jody at this point.
Thanks, Julia. So now I'm going to share some information and allow you to peek behind the curtain a little bit and learn more about the proposal evaluation process. Next slide. So a diverse peer review panel is recruited by panel managers and national program leaders. The panels are institutionally and geographically diverse, with colleagues at different stages in their careers, includes early, mid, and late career researchers, extension educators. Panelists are also diverse across gender, race, and ethnicity. And then once the panel is recruited, the proposals are then assigned for individual review to at least 3 members of the panel with expertise in the proposed topic. They then review those proposals independently, like in their homes or in their office spaces, and they review them based on the evaluation criteria and on their own merit. So they're not comparing them to each other yet. Reviewers will then produce individual reviews for each proposal, evaluating the strengths and weaknesses, again, based on the evaluation criteria. These written reviews are used to begin panel discussions, and those panel discussions happen when the reviewers are brought together virtually, most often now, to discuss those individual reviews. So through these discussions, the panel then comes to a consensus on the final rating and ranking of those proposals. And we take that information and use it as recommendations for which proposals will be awarded. Next slide, please. So proposals are evaluated using the evaluation criteria for each project type and grant type. So for research projects, the evaluation criteria are scientific merit, qualifications of personnel, the facilities, and project management, project relevance, and center of excellence status if requested for review. More detailed criteria for each project type, and that includes our integrated projects, as well as grant types and centers of excellence, can be found on the AFRI RFA resources page on the NIFA website. Next slide, please. So on average, the competitive review process takes about 3 to 5 months from the proposal due date to an award. The first 1 to 2 months of the timeline is when the request for application is released and available for review, and that includes the proposal writing and planning time. It's a little bit different for AFRI. AFRI has a longer posting time than most of our programs. The next 2 to 3 months, the proposal is under review and recommended award notifications are made. And then the last 1 to 2 months are when the awards are finalized and actually made. We try to keep you updated when there are significant delays, but you're more than welcome to reach out to us if you've gone like several months and haven't heard anything. No notifications, no emails, no nothing. We really would appreciate you sending us a note because sometimes things get lost. Junia mentioned the funding opportunity number. Sometimes, numbers get transcribed, transposed. We can go out and kind of hunt for the proposal if we know it's out there. But if we don't know, we can't look for it. So make sure that if we're not in touch with you, and we should be, you kind of heard from us for several months, please, by all means, reach out to us. And with that, I'm going to go ahead and turn it back over to Suzanne to provide some additional information and help facilitate the Q&A if there is time.
Thank you so much, Dr. Williams. So just a few closing slides to leave you with before we get to the Q&A. So next slide. Again, many of these resources were mentioned throughout, but we really encourage you to utilize these. You will be receiving a copy, or not receiving, we will post a copy of these slides in PDF format to our registration page where you registered and found this webinar. And so you will have these resources available to you, but we have policy guides, the flow charts that were talked about, information on past awarded grants. So we encourage you to seek out those resources. Next slide. There's also upcoming events, so stay in tune with other technical assistance webinars that we may be providing, with other meetings and events. And a great way to do that is to bookmark and to look at our events calendar and also our RFA release calendar as well. And you can find those there. Next slide. Also, a great way to understand how the process really works behind the scenes is to become a panelist. So we encourage all of you to sign up, and you can do that now online using the information. I'll also put it in chat. here, but identify yourself, step up and say, hey, I could provide this area of expertise in the panel. We also highly encourage you, once you put your information into this system, to also, if you saw or heard a program today, get in touch with that national program leader or that program specialist and say, hey, I signed up in PRS and I want to be a panelist, and they'll get you also added to a list as well. So it never hurts to touch base and to introduce yourself. Next slide. Again, as I mentioned before, we are available, accessible. We want you to reach out. Many of the national program leaders mentioned this during their conversation and talk with you today. And so we've listed our organizational chart here for you as well. And that's why we provided the contact information. Next slide. Okay. I think that is it. I'm going to ask Yamalis to please stop sharing, and then we can go to gallery and we can see everyone. I think we also have a few questions that might be popping up here, and then we can get to those. So Terrence, you do have your hand up. I'm going to unmute and allow you to talk. So go ahead here once there we go. You can ask your question, please.
Yes, my name is Terrence Thomas from North Carolina A&T. I have two questions. One, would underserved poor minority communities that would be majority African Americans be qualified for the nutrition, health, and diet program? That would be a 1344.
So it's highly likely that the work you're describing is going to fit best in a 1344 under that third sub-priority. So that likely be fully developed, right, to align with one of the 4 approaches and the integrated nature, and fit very nicely into that particular program. Yes.
All right. My second question is, my definition of extension would include informal education, not necessarily classical cooperative extension efforts, but any informal program to pass on information and build capacity. Would that be considered extension?
Yes, for the purposes of A1344 and being integrated, we are, and thank you for this question, we are using extension with a small e, right, inclusive of cooperative extension and community outreach and the informal education that you just described. Thank you so much for allowing us to make that point.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Thomas, for coming off mute. I have remuted you. If you have further questions, please raise your hand, and we encourage others to raise their hand as well. I'm going to actually direct a question again to Dr. Koenings. One of the things that we did not lift up, I do want to give a shout out. So there's many new nutrition topics in our commodity funding board topics. We were remiss in including slides, but a huge shout out to our National Science Liaison, Dr. Fleischhacker. She really helped to promote that and to build up that area. So, but I am going to turn it over to Mallory to just tell you all a little bit about where those are in the RFA and how to apply for those as well.
Yes, thank you so much. So within the AFRI Foundational and Applied Sciences RFA, in those cross-cutting topics is where you can find what is titled the AFRI Commodity Board co-funding topics. It's program code A1811, and there are 14 topics available. So if you're doing work that is specifically focused in pork, peanuts, dairy, eggs, right, dry pea and lentils, and soybeans and sorghum, walnuts, and perhaps in prunes, right, you may really want to take a look at the specific opportunities there, where both NIFA, right, through AFRI and these specific commodity boards, right, come together and as it's described, right, co-fund, essentially fund about 50% each of these proposals. So definitely strongly encourage you all to take a look at that if that aligns with your area of work.
Thank you so much, Mallory. Again, there's been a tremendous increase in the nutrition topics and one specifically from pork and extension. So we encourage you to look at that and to share those opportunities. Mr. Weinberg, you've raised your hand. Let me get to allow you to talk here. Okay, go ahead.
Okay, thank you for fielding my question. It's a quick one on A1511 nanotechnology. So nanobubble technology has made some great inroads in agriculture. Would nanobubbles fit into A1511?
Yes, as a matter of fact, we have found a project on the nanobubble in the past. Yes.
Thank
Thanks
you.
for the question. Yeah.
Thank you again, Ed, for formulating that question. And I believe you also had one in the Q&A section. What modification is the current? Oh, somebody answered it. Should say mod 3. Thank you, Sarah. Appreciate that. I could not find that. I was searching for it. So shout out to our program specialist there for finding that for you. So again, modification 3, it was just everyone who's joining. There was a major modification here done in July. So please do look to that to pull down a new RFA. So if you haven't been in there in a while, pull down that latest version, please. Okay. Any more questions? I know, oh, there's some popping up here. Do projects that include commodity specific? Oh, Mallory, you want to answer that?
Yeah. Sorry, I'll go ahead and answer that one live. So I will say that the mechanisms that we have for co-funding are through either specific are only through specific offerings that we have set up. So the Commodity Board co-funding topics is one of those examples. I will also make everyone aware that if you are doing commodity specific applied research, then you would be needing to meet the AFRI matching and cost sharing requirement. So you're certainly welcome to reach out to myself if the interest is A1344, or Dr. Chris Grimes if the interest is the nutrition hubs, to tell us more about this commodity specific work that you're doing. But I personally think the ideal opportunity is through the Commodity Board co-funding topics, and those undergo new topic considerations at each cycle.
Thanks, Mallory. And we need to let Mallory get on to another appointment. So thanks for joining us, Mallory. Ed, again, you have another question. Let me get to unmuting you here. You should have access again to the floor.
Thanks again. Yes, so the Commodity Board generated topics, isn't there a proviso in there that you need 30-day or 60-day pre-approval or review? If that's so, how does one meet the deadlines then?
Okay, I'm going to have to maybe lean Hongda or Jody, or we might have to get back to you on this. I am not as well versed in that question, and we want to get you the right answer here. Anybody else on the team? Otherwise, we can email you and get back to you, Ed.
Yeah. I'll look it up
Okay.
and see if I can get it before we get off, but I haven't done commodity ones in years. So let me see what I can find for you.
All right, thank you.
Great question. Okay, I do believe we've got all questions answered. National program leaders or program specialists or anyone else, is there anything you'd like to, you maybe answered it, but you're like, I really want to emphasize this. Is there another takeaway perhaps that you didn't have time to emphasize you'd like to share? Sheila, please.
I just emphasize, these are recorded, so give us a moment to get them ADA compliant, but go back through them. And then also, all of us here, amongst other of our program staff, are very accessible. So feel free to reach out to us with any questions. Obviously, there's certain things we can and can't do in terms of developing your proposal, but usually if you have a question, most of the time we have an answer for it. So I would just say, feel free to reach out. Obviously, plan accordingly. If you're, reaching out the day before, it's not going to be as helpful as it is earlier in the process. So I would just say, work with your team and really consolidate some of your key questions that you have, and just don't be shy to reach out and make time to meet your program staff.
Excellent advice. There's another question on who to reach out to for commodity specific questions. So Mallory is one of the contacts. If you go to page, I think it is 105 in the current RFA, but we can also place this in, have one of my program specialists place this in the chat, but it's Dr. Mallory Canings, Dr. Mark Mirando, and Dr. John Erickson and Dr. Mack, who are listed as those program area contacts. But again, page 105 in the RFA, and we'll also try to put that here in the chat. What else is coming up? Alejandra, can you tell me where I can find the form to participate as an international partner in an A1344 program? Anyone who can address this? I know Mallory just jumped off. I think it's in general. For international, anybody that can help with this, or should we just have Mallory?
Okay, I can try to help answer this question. Yes, all of our AFRI funding programs can have a international component, provided there are some preconditions. The research or the research part cannot be done within the continent, and the outcome of the proposed project must benefit American consumers, American agriculture. If you must identify an international partner, and if it's rated as scientific and meritorious, we can add $150,000 for that as a supplement to the international partnership.
Thanks, Steve. If you have further questions, please let us know and we'll get back with you. Okay. Is a mentoring plan required for a seed grant under A1344? Again, Mallory had to depart.
I can answer that, I
Thanks.
believe,
Thanks.
Suzanne. Let's see here. Is a mentoring plan required for a seed grant under 1344? No, it's not. We don't need a mentoring plan.
And that's what I thought, but great question. Just like Sheila articulated earlier, it's real. Some of the programs do. So it really is about really using that RFA, that checklist. So some of them do require mentoring plans. So excellent question in looking at that. Okay, Mr. Thomas, sometimes NIFA and reviewers policy not matching. NIFA seek artificial intelligence or new analyzing technology, but reviewers not. Hongda, any advice here, please?
The way that I read this question is about whether NIFA policy allow we use AI tools to review proposals, and that is very clear. And we do not use AI tools to review the applications and just to protect confidentiality. Yeah. So I'm not sure if that answers your question, but in terms of pursuing AI technology, that is the championed by a number of programs, and that's the trend of science. And no doubt that many fields are following that and examine the opportunities and support the research in that space. Yeah.
And I will say, NIFA doesn't necessarily run all of your proposals through ChatGPT or something, but your reviewers might. So, just keep that in mind that folks, if they spot or detect plagiarism or not like creative writing, things like that, those are things they'll raise and review. So, obviously, as there's new tools to create your proposals, I would just be really leery that you don't want a reviewer to maybe spot something like that maybe might make your application be scored lower. I would also really emphasize, as many details have been walked through about strengthening your proposal, you know, this isn't a creative writing process. Like there are checklists. So I would really encourage you to print them out, you know, old school, print them out and just make sure across your team that things are adhered to in terms of like font size, page limits, things like that. There's just little things like that that could add up when the reviewers are going through your application. And you just also don't want to just not get reviewed because you're missing critical pieces. So do really encourage you to print out those checklists and really have some cross checks within your team, you know, days out with your administrative staff of when and how to get these things submitted on time.
Sheila, great advice. Jody, can we come back to you for, you found out some things with commodity boards to respond to that question?
Sure. So you do need a letter of co-funding support from the commodity board, and it's within 60 calendar days after the application submission deadline, which is August 1st. So you have a little bit of time. And with that, to obtain that letter, you do have to send your entire proposal to the commodity board representative that's listed within the RFA for each of the 21 different topic areas. And it's on page 109 of the RFA. So all of that information that I just shared, as well as all of the contacts for the individual. So there is a little bit of time.
Very helpful. Thanks, Jody, for investigating that. Okay, food safety team. There is a question from Nick in the chat. Do one of you want to lean into that, please?
Do you have, it would be, I'm not sure what they mean. So what do you mean by the scope? Do you have a method in mind that you'd like to propose? What do you mean by that? Unless Hongda or Junia have, it's pretty general.
Yeah, well, in this case, because we are relying on the applicant to come up and provide the method that we need, or they have that they can suggest that will help the USDA answer the priority questions. So we're not limiting your approaches, but just make sure during your application process that you are describing that method in a way that the reviewers know that you are familiar with the method you're using and you're comfortable with it and it can answer the question. But we at NIFA are not saying this or the method you should use for any processes. Just make sure you describe it in your application well enough so the reviewers do not have any question for you.
I see. Am I unmuted? Can I briefly speak? All right, great. Thank you. So I guess my question was just curious about what, because the term was very specifically mentioned, microbiological methods. I mean, I was wondering if things like optical, visual, right? All these are considered acceptable methods, or did it need to involve some specific microbial culturing method?
No, it doesn't necessarily need to include a microbial culturing method. So no, those are all acceptable methods as well.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Okay, this will probably be our last question here. Do you allow appendices for a seed grant application, given that the narrative is limited to 7 pages?
So I can tackle this one. I'll just say, so appendices are allowed in all of our applications, but not to supersede or to get around the page limitation. So just be careful with what you're providing in terms of appendices or additional information. The idea of that is not to allow you to expand upon that page limitation in the narrative. So if there's additional documents or information that you like to provide, that's welcome, but again, not to supersede the actual page limitation of the document. So you don't want to kind of you don't want to try to go around our requirements by adding appendices. And then also the reviewers are only required to read the narrative. So whatever you have as your appendices, they can choose to or not to read that. So make sure it's as inclusive as necessary in your narrative.
I think that was an excellent point to wrap us up, Jody. Just again, really reading those details, knowing where to put in what section important information. So again, thank you all for attending. A huge shout out to staff that you see here in the Institute of Food Safety and Nutrition. We are here for you. Please reach out at any time. We would love to talk to you, answer any more questions that you may have, and we'll be posting this as soon as we can quickly turn that around with captioning and 508 compliance. So again, thank you for joining us, and we look forward to seeing your application soon. So again, have a great day. Thanks, everyone.